The movie begins late at night. A young woman finishes working overtime and leaves her job. She tries to get a taxi, but a group of men takes it before she can. With no ride available, she starts walking home alone. While walking on a quiet road, a van pulls up beside her. The driver, Do-shik, tells her to get in and says he will drop her near the main road. She feels uneasy and refuses, saying she doesn't trust strangers. Do-shik insists, explaining that taxis are rare at this hour, but she still says no and keeps walking. After moving forward for a while, she suddenly hears someone calling out for help. Confused and worried, she turns back. She sees the same van parked nearby with its door open and a weak voice crying from inside. She slowly walks closer and looks into the van. Inside, she notices scattered clothes and the body of a dead man. Before she can react, she realizes the person pretending to be hurt is actually Do-shik. He suddenly attacks her, pulls her into the van, and tries to kill her before she can escape. Later, Do-shik calls the police. 2 officers arrive at the scene. Do-shik acts very shaken and upset, pretending he is in shock. He points to a nearby spot and tells them he discovered the bodies there by accident. The police check the area and find both a woman's body and a man's body. Do-shik then lies to the officers. He says that 3 foreign workers attacked the woman. He tries to make it sound like they were responsible, hoping the police will believe his story. In the next scene, siblings Choi Sojung and Jong-tak argue at home. Jong-tak, a former officer in the Marine Corps, who now works at a security company, scolds his sister about her clothes and tells her to go change. Sojung complains that everyone dresses like that and begs him to let it slide just once because she has a blind date and wants to look nice. Jong-tak still tells her to change, and Sojung goes to change her outfit. After she finishes changing, Jong-tak tells her to be back home by 9 p.m. Sojung argues back, asking for midnight instead. After some back and forth, Jong-tak finally settles at 10 p.m. Sojung agrees, but jokes that she'll come back at midnight anyway, showing her playful attitude. In the following scene, a young woman named Kim Kyeong-mi is working in customer service. She is deaf and communicates with other deaf or mute customers through video calls using sign language. After work, she goes to a company dinner. Even though she cannot join in the conversation normally, she sits with her coworkers. The men at the table make rude and inappropriate comments about her, thinking she cannot hear them. What they don't realize is that Kyeong-mi can read lips. In response, she signs back a series of sharp insults, but the men think she is praising them. Later, Kyeong-mi's mother is working at a tailor shop and receives her monthly salary. She is happy because she and Kyeong-mi can go on a trip to Jeju Island. Meanwhile, Kyeong-mi waits in her car to pick up her mother. Suddenly, her sound sensor alerts her to danger. She quickly sees her mother almost get hit by a bike and stops her just in time. Meanwhile, Jong-tak starts to worry because his sister is not replying to his messages, even though she has already read them. He feels upset and wonders why she is ignoring him. His friend tells him not to worry and reminds him that she probably doesn't reply because she went on a blind date. Jong-tak returns home and realizes his sister still hasn't come back. Worried, he decides to go outside and search for her. Late that night, the killer Do-shik goes out looking for another victim. He sees Kyeong-mi leave her mother near an alarm post while she parks her car. Do-shik plans to follow Kyeong-mi's mother, but at that moment, Sojung appears walking along the same street. Changing his target, Do-shik decides to go after Sojung instead. He suddenly rushes forward and attacks her. Later, Do-shik comes back and notices Kyeong-mi's mother standing nearby. At the same time, Jong-tak arrives and asks Kyeong-mi's mother if she has seen his sister. When she says no, Jong-tak leaves to keep searching. Soon after, Do-shik sees Kyeong-mi, who returns from the parking lot. As she walks toward her mother, she suddenly sees a white shoe slide out from a dark alley. Then another shoe appears. Even though she cannot hear it, she senses someone asking for help. Kyeong-mi slowly enters the alley and finds Sojung on the ground, hurt and crying for help. Before Kyeong-mi can react, Do-shik shows up with an axe and attacks her. Sojung pushes him away, giving Kyeong-mi a chance to escape. Kyeong-mi runs back to the street but chooses the opposite direction to keep the killer away from her mother. Do-shik chases her. She reaches the parking lot and hides between cars, quietly moving toward a back door. As she carefully opens the door, Do-shik hears the sound and runs toward her. Luckily, Kyeong-mi opens the door just in time. Kyeong-mi gets into her car and calls her mother, telling her to stay near the alarm post. Right after the call ends, Do-shik suddenly appears in the back seat holding a knife. He forces her to drive. Instead of leaving the building, Kyeong-mi drives straight toward a wall and stops at the last second. Using that moment, she jumps out and runs away. Another chase begins, and Kyeong-mi finally reaches her mother and presses the alarm button. Seeing this, Do-shik quietly walks away. While the women wait for the police, he returns to his van. He hides Sojung's body inside, then changes his clothes. He goes back to Kyeong-mi and her mother, pretending to be worried. Since Do-shik was earlier wearing a mask and hat, Kyeong-mi does not recognize him. He tells them he is searching for his sister, and Kyeong-mi believes him. She is about to lead him to the dark alley, but the police arrive first. The officers check the alley but find nothing. Kyeong-mi asks to see the security cameras, but the parking guard explains they were turned off by kids who hang around there to smoke. All three are taken to the police station to give proper statements. Inside the elevator, Do-shik keeps staring at the weapons in his bag, then looks at the women. Kyeong-mi's mother notices this and feels something is wrong, especially since he no longer looks upset. To keep acting, Do-shik pulls out a black phone and says he just got a message from his sister, pretending to feel relieved. Later, Kyeong-mi finishes giving her statement to the police. An officer asks her if the attacker was wearing a cap and mask and if she saw his face. She says no. The officer then asks if she remembers anything else, like his height or body type. Before Kyeong-mi can answer, Do-shik speaks up and describes the man as about 170 centimeters tall and very thin. The officer tells Do-shik to wait and says he will take his statement later. Nearby, a homeless man sleeping on a couch starts insulting Do-shik. Seeing a chance to cause trouble, Do-shik walks to the water cooler. While picking up a cup, he quietly insults the homeless man so the officer cannot hear. Angry, the man suddenly attacks Do-shik. During the struggle, Do-shik drops a white phone on the floor. Kyeong-mi's mother picks it up and notices Sojung's photo on the screen. The officer pulls the homeless man away and takes him outside. Do-shik grabs his phone and then goes over to Kyeong-mi's statement, pretending to help but secretly checking her home address. As he reads, Kyeong-mi's mother signs to Kyeong-mi that it is strange the man has two phones. When Do-shik notices them communicating, he asks what they are talking about. Kyeong-mi simply writes, "Nothing." After that, Do-shik walks closer to Kyeong-mi's mother and slowly starts checking the weapons in his bag, thinking about his next move. Just then, a police officer enters with Jong-tak, who has come to report his missing sister. The officer asks Jong-tak to show her photo to the others because Kyeong-mi's description matches. Do-shik pretends he has never seen her. Jong-tak shows the picture to Kyeong-mi's mother and realizes he had already asked her earlier. When Kyeong-mi sees the photo, she immediately recognizes Sojung and tries to explain. Before she can say much, the homeless man comes back inside and attacks Do-shik again. So the officer leaves the room to deal with the homeless man. At the same time, Kyeong-mi's mother remembers seeing Sojung's photo on Do-shik's phone. She is about to warn the others, but Do-shik quietly threatens her, saying he will kill Kyeong-mi if she moves. He opens his bag, shows a knife, and walks toward Jong-tak. Kyeong-mi's mother makes a loud noise to get attention. Jong turns just in time and blocks the knife. The two men start fighting while Kyeong-mi and her mother run outside to call for help. During the struggle, Do-shik admits that he attacked Sojung. Hearing this, Jong-tak becomes furious and beats Do-shik. He even grabs the knife and holds it to Do-shik's neck, demanding to know where his sister is. Before anything else happens, the police rush in. Do-shik quickly acts like the victim. Because of how the scene looks, the officers believe him and arrest Jong-tak instead. Do-shik is allowed to walk free. Kyeong-mi and her mother try to tell the police that he is the killer, but the officers do not understand them at first. The women stay with Jong-tak while the police check the security cameras and finally realize that Kyeong-mi and her mother were telling the truth. Later, an officer drops Kyeong-mi and her mother at their home. Jong-tak goes back to the alley where Kyeong-mi earlier saw Sojung, hoping to find his sister. At home, Kyeong-mi and her mother notice their motion lights blinking, showing movement nearby. The lights warn them that someone is knocking at the door. They feel worried because it is very late, but it turns out to be the mother's coworker who has come to pick up some bags. Kyeong-mi's mother decides to go with her coworker to help her, leaving Kyeong-mi alone at home. Do-shik arrives at Kyeong-mi's house and breaks the sensor outside the door so the lights won't show his location. Inside, his footsteps still trigger the motion lights. When Kyeong-mi sees the lights blink, she leaves her room to check. To trick her, Do-shik sets an alarm clock to ring, making her think the sound caused the lights. Meanwhile, Kyeong-mi takes the card that Jong-tak gave her in case she needed help and sends him a text, hoping he can find his sister. Do-shik grabs his axe and gets ready to attack. At that moment, Kyeong-mi notices a toy on the dresser is moving, but the lights don't react to it. She quickly realizes something is wrong, turns around, and just manages to dodge Do-shik's strike. Kyeong-mi runs to another room, pushes a dresser in front of the door, and sends another urgent text to Jong-tak, warning him that the killer is inside the house. Jong-tak sees Kyeong-mi's urgent text and rushes to her house. Kyeong-mi quickly texts her mother, telling her not to come back. Soon after, she receives a text saying her mother is already there and found the door open. Thinking her mother is in danger, Kyeong-mi starts moving the dresser, blocking the door. As more texts arrive asking for help, she realizes it isn't her mother. Do-shik has her phone. Kyeong-mi stops moving the dresser just in time as Do-shik appears through the door gap. He tries to grab her hand, but she pulls it back and locks the door in his face. This doesn't stop him for long. Do-shik begins smashing the door with his axe, trying to get inside. With no other way out, Kyeong-mi jumps through the window. Do-shik grabs her by the hair as she falls, but she struggles and forces him to let go, landing safely on a pile of trash below. Kyeong-mi immediately gets up and runs, with Do-shik chasing her. Soon, Jong-tak catches up and joins the chase after Kyeong-mi. After running through many streets and blocks, Do-shik corners Kyeong-mi in a closed area. He is about to attack when Jong-tak arrives. To stop him, Do-shik holds a knife to his own neck, threatening to kill himself, saying that if he does, Jong-tak will never find his sister. Frozen in place, Jong-tak watches as Do-shik sends a text with Sojung's location, forcing him to choose between the two girls. Jong-tak apologizes to Kyeong-mi and rushes off to the address he was given, Kyeong-mi's house. Of course, Do-shik lied, and the house is empty. Jong-tak only meets Kyeong-mi's mother returning home. Meanwhile, Kyeong-mi tries to defend herself with a chair from the trash, but Do-shik takes it from her and pins her to the ground. While he taunts her and uses his phone to call Jong-tak, blaming him for leaving Kyeong-mi alone, she grabs some dirt and throws it in Do-shik's face. Using the distraction, she pushes him off and starts running again. Kyeong-mi reaches the street where Do-shik's van is parked. Sojung comes out, holding a knife and calling for help. Meanwhile, Jong-tak and Kyeong-mi's mother reach the area where Kyeong-mi had been cornered, but it is empty. The two girls hide in an alley behind a trash container, staying out of sight. Kyeong-mi tells Sojung to call the police, but Sojung refuses because she can hear Do-shik nearby. At the same time, Do-shik realizes Sojung is missing from the van. Kyeong-mi quickly comes up with a plan. She types a message on her phone telling Sojung to call her brother since he is close. Kyeong-mi hands the phone to Sojung and takes the knife from her. While Do-shik is busy checking his van, Kyeong-mi quietly leaves the alley and hides. When she sees him getting close to Sojung, Kyeong-mi jumps out, shakes a metal shutter, and shouts to get his attention. She holds the knife to her own neck, threatening to hurt herself so Do-shik cannot enjoy killing her. She presses the alarm pole again and starts running, beginning another chase through the streets, while Sojung calls her brother for help. Jong-tak and Kyeong-mi's mother reach Sojung, where an ambulance has already arrived. Sojung tells them which direction Kyeong-mi ran to protect her, heading toward downtown. Hearing this, Kyeong-mi's mother immediately starts running to find her daughter, and Jong-tak follows her. Meanwhile, Kyeong-mi reaches a main road and tries to cross it. Because she cannot hear the traffic, it becomes very dangerous. After several close moments, she safely makes it to the other side and enters a busy commercial area. Kyeong-mi tries to ask people around her for help, but since she cannot speak, they ignore her. As Do-shik gets closer, she has no choice but to pull out the knife to protect herself. This makes everyone nearby step back. One man in the crowd starts calling the police, but Do-shik quickly stops him, saying Kyeong-mi is his sister and has mental problems, and that police would only scare her and make things worse. While everyone is distracted, Kyeong-mi runs away. Soon after, some soldiers spot Kyeong-mi and bring her back to Do-shik, believing his story. They even hand the knife back to him. After the crowd leaves, Kyeong-mi breaks down in tears. Using the few sounds she can make, she begs Do-shik not to hurt her, saying she still has many things left to live for. Not wanting to do this in public, Do-shik drags her into a nearby alley. He tells her she almost changed his mind, but it isn't enough, and he raises his knife to attack. Just in time, Jong-tak arrives and stops him. The two men start fighting. Jong-tak manages to grab Do-shik from behind and choke him until he falls unconscious. Believing the danger is over, Jong-tak lets go and goes to Kyeong-mi, telling her that Sojung is safe in the hospital and her mother is close by. Suddenly, Do-shik jumps up. He only pretends to pass out. He attacks Jong-tak with empty bottles and pieces of trash. Kyeong-mi picks up the knife and shouts, forcing Do-shik to stop. Jong-tak gets back on his feet, ready to fight Do-shik again. Do-shik coldly says that he promised himself he would kill at least one person. Jong-tak is shocked and asks what he means. Do-shik then realizes Kyeong-mi's mother must be nearby, so he turns and runs off, heading out to find her. Do-shik finds Kyeong-mi's mother in the middle of a busy street. He walks up to her and tells her that her daughter is nearby, ordering her to follow him into a dark alley. Just then, Kyeong-mi spots them and runs toward Do-shik with a knife in her hand. Do-shik laughs at her, saying she failed to stab him and only hurt her own hand. But this was Kyeong-mi's plan. She places the knife in Do-shik's hand and injures herself, making it look like he attacked her. The people around them step back and believe Kyeong-mi, ignoring Do-shik when he says he didn't do it. The police arrive and fire warning shots into the air. Do-shik keeps moving toward Kyeong-mi, even after being shot in the leg. Kyeong-mi bravely provokes him and Do-shik tries to attack again. The police shoot him again, but he still charges forward. At that moment, Jong-tak arrives and tackles Do-shik to the ground. Do-shik dies. A few days later, Kyeong-mi and her mother visit the beach. Sojung and Jong-tak join them too. Jong-tak and Sojung show that they have started learning sign language to communicate better with Kyeong-mi. In the end, all four of them smile and take a photo together, showing that they are finally safe. And the movie ends. And that wraps up Midnight. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell for more chilling movie stories. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.